Design.
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 Design means to plan.
Human.
Substance.
Technology.
Designing for a better future.
What is design really?
Let's talk about design.
Making an impact in the world.
The power of design to improve life.
Design to survive.
Up to 810 million years ago, microscopic fungi sprouted from the damp earth. It was the first ever mushroom to emerge on our young planet, a tiny life offering so much potential to the surrounding life forms and ecosystems. After discovery by humans, mushrooms were initially thought to be supernatural in origin, believed to be plants of immortality and a food exclusively for the gods. Now, they're a much-loved staple in our lives on the high-end and humble plates of diners all over the world. But beyond soulful dishes to psychedelics, mushrooms and their root systems, known as mycelium, are proving to be critical to our survival. The unassuming fungi could, in fact, help solve our sustainability crisis.
Mycelium technology might be the next big boom, like this mycelium brick. A plastic-like replacement with many uses and new opportunities for products and maybe even wearable technology.
Our modern world is made up of concrete, steel, and plastic. Synthetic materials that have become the mainstay of our many manufactured places and products. They've opened up a world of possibilities, but inevitably have become unwanted permanent fixtures, permeating land, sea, and air. This problem has been exacerbated by our broken model of supply and demand. We want something, we produce it, we use it, then we toss it. And the cycle continues. We're now drowning in a thick, undrainable swamp of man-made materials, yet we constantly want more, bigger, and better. We want things cheaper, and we want them now. Today, a growing collective of forward thinkers are looking beyond the industrialized world and are literally taking us back to our roots. They're co-designing with nature where the concept of waste is non-existent, where a product is grown, perishes, and naturally becomes food for new life. Fungi has evolved from an ancient edible to one of the most complex, useful, and renewable materials we have. Will it be the solution to help us progress while truly coexisting with our natural ecosystems? Welcome to Can Design Save Us, a series exploring design as a pioneering force for good. We dive into the most pressing problems of our time and meet people using design to solve them. We explore the good, bad, complex, and controversial. My name is Lesley Price, host from the Index Project, and my guest today is Oksana Bondar, Director of Design at BIOHM. BIOHM, our Index Award 2021 winner, is a London-based biomanufacturing company. They combine the principles of the circular economy and human-centered design with natural ecosystems to create new building technologies, materials, and manufacturing methods. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me and us. It's an absolute honor to be invited and to be part of the discussion.
Yeah, really looking forward to getting stuck in. First of all, I should say, congratulations on the Index Award win. Of course, I had the pleasure of being there when our CEO told you, but what were your initial reactions? You were very excited, but I'd love to sort of hear how you were feeling when we told you.
Yeah, thrilled, excited, maybe shocked a little, a bundle of emotions, but obviously very positive emotions. And above everything else, honored as well. The Index Project Award is one of the most prestigious awards in the world. It means a lot to us. So yeah, absolutely honored. And thank you to everybody involved in making that decision. And it means a lot. It means that, the work that we're doing is recognized and is important. And yeah, it's a great feeling.
Absolutely. The jury, obviously, huge fans of what you guys do. But I guess we should start off. We'll mention in the intro about what you guys at BIOHM do, but I would like to hear from your sort of perspective in a nutshell, or it can be a longer explanation as well. But what do you guys do at BIOHM?
In a nutshell, we are a research and development-led biomanufacturing company. And we allow nature to lead the innovation, to revolutionize construction and create a healthier and more sustainable built environment. So that's the nutshell. But simply put, BIOHM is really a philosophy and a way of translating that genius and sophistication of the natural world into the development of our materials, products, the built environment, and the way we produce, consume, build, and do business. Mm-hmm. And I guess we are here led by the belief of only having a regenerative impact with everything that we do and everything that we touch. So that's BIOHM in a nutshell, a philosophy and an algorithm and a belief in regeneration.
Yeah, I mean, you guys create some incredible products. And I mean, you work with mycelium, right? And food waste to create these very sustainable, broad range of products. But I think it's really interesting about how you guys talk about having that sustainability impact, you know, not just environmentally, but socially and economically as well. But we'll get into that down the track. I mean, you're a designer. I'd love to know sort of how you came to join BIOHM, sort of what was the journey towards that?
Yeah, I mean, my design practice, I think, was evolving in parallel with evolution of BIOHM. So, I mean, us meeting was inevitable, I think. It was, and when we met, it was a match made in heaven. So, I guess we can talk more about, the practice, but inevitably it led me into the research and development of bio-based materials from waste streams. And that's something BIOHM was doing and is still doing. So, and that world of biotech and design thinking-led biotech is quite small. So, we had to meet, we met, and the rest is history, I guess. Mm-hmm. And when we had those conversations, I obviously had an urge that I had to be a part of this revolution in any capacity that I possibly could. And I had to be able to contribute to the creation of the future of home. Mm-hmm. And that's what BIOHM is. We believe that we are creating the future of home, and by home, we obviously mean our homes and the built environment, but also the planet Earth. So that's me joining the company. It's been 2.5 years ago, and I mean the journey since I joined, for me personally, has been the most fascinating journey I have ever been on, and so much happened, and I personally look forward to what is yet to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys are probably just scratching the surface, I would imagine. But I mean, as a sort of an expert in circular design, you must have worked with a range of sort of materials and experiments, sort of thinking, okay, how can we make these products way more sustainable? Could you maybe share a couple of, I know you mentioned last time about kitchen experiments. I'd love to hear about that as, sort of the kinds of materials you've worked with in the past. And of course, we'll eventually get to figure out how that lends into BIOHM.
Yeah, I mean, I guess starting from the top, my whole practice started, from the introduction and being exposed to and realization of the wicked problem, or a number of wicked problems that are at the core of the design and manufacturing industry. Mm-hmm. And those are, to name a few, is obviously destructive natural resource depletion, excessive extraction, consumption, disposal. So, when I realized those things, I did a lot of research, dived deep into that wicked problem, and realized I couldn't be a part of the business as usual, as part of that design industry, the business as usual. And I believe that design also was a very powerful tool to bring about change and solve those wicked problems. And then, I mean, as you dig deeper, you realize that one of the problems is the materials you design with, and obviously all the waste. So it's such a multifaceted problem that has so many factors and elements to it. And then there is a concept of designers becoming the farmers of the material, and I think it's because we as a design industry walked away from being close and personal with materials is maybe why we're facing these wicked problems. So there I was at the beginning of the journey into being the farmer of the materials that I was going to design with.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that was, again, a fascinating journey. And it happened in my kitchen, in the studio, back in university, in the workshops.
You had some really interesting points about sort of what materials you were working with, sort of alternatives to plastic. Human hair was one of them. I'd love to hear a bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if thinking back in the day and as well what we're doing now, everything kind of starts from that idea of, and the concept that is borrowed from the natural world, actually, that nothing is waste and everything is a resource. Everything that dies becomes food for the new life. So, and that's where you are as a designer, as a material developer and researcher. You start with that waste as a source to then create your material. And yeah, I guess for me, one of the first ones was human hair waste.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of came from the research into the wastes in general, and obviously other problems of growing population and what is the future of waste streams as well, because there's a whole industry of the different ways of tackling this problem. So which wastes are going to be here, or are they here to stay? And human hair waste made a lot of sense because we're here to stay. So is human hair waste here to stay. And above and beyond that, there is also, as I dug deeper into understanding what it is as a chemical compound, as a matter, I realized it's actually beautiful. It's bio-based material. So, it's something that the nature understands if it was to be put back into nature. It's something that is incredibly mechanically strong. And it's so interesting to work with because it's a fiber. It's often a long fiber, so you can work with it in many ways. And then that led into me thinking, could we replace carbon fiber with it? Can we use it as reinforcement? And that kind of led me into looking into bioplastics. So, that's your reinforcing mat made out of human hair, then what do you impregnate it with to harden it, So that was some of the material developments that formed my journey. And obviously,
but you also mentioned that they used animal hair for many sort of old school products, right? Before we had plastics and all of these very synthetic materials.
Absolutely. Natural fibers were a huge part of what we used to work with, including human hair, actually. So the fibers, whether human or animal, were used in our buildings, mixed with clay to form the fabric of the building. They were used to upholster and stuff our furniture, and also fertilize fields. So, yeah, and I guess, the replacement, the synthetic fibers replaced them. But I think now it's almost a journey in a time machine back into realizing this very wholesome ways of making with the natural materials and with nature directly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys at BIOHM, as we mentioned before, that you work with over 300 strains of mycelium, right? Mycelium being the root structures of mushrooms, food waste as well. What was your how did you become acquainted with mycelium? Was it at BIOHM or was it before?
It was actually before. That was another material I tried, and
another kitchen experiment.
I tried to work with. So, I mean, when you look into waste streams and you're working and developing your practice around developing and innovating with materials, I stumbled across, obviously, working or materials that are made using living organisms, and mycelium was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried working with it. It was a complete failure. I mostly grew black mold on my own.
Well, you grew something. I guess that's the important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But what was interesting, all the learning out of that failure was invaluable to me, because first of all, it blew my mind, the possibility and opportunity that mycelium or other living organisms hold for designers and makers and producers, because it teaches you a lot of things. So it teaches you, well, it taught me the understanding and appreciation of the living complex organism, and the fact that you can't really push it. You can't really, it's you have to respect it. You have to have the patience. You have to treat it almost as a partner and a collaborator, rather than the tabula rasa or a blank mass of matter, So you really need to almost forget what you know about how you design and make and produce, and relearn and let the organism teach you almost. So, and that was absolutely incredible. And to this day, like you said, we are barely scratching the surface. And it's one of the most fascinating things is the idea of as a designer, you're working with living things and designing with them and making with them. And the world of opportunities and possibilities that reveals is incredible.
What kinds of products are you guys producing now? We've touched on the insulation, and I think there was some furniture as well, right? Or some home products?
I mean, the world is your oyster with these technologies. So I guess our headline products or innovation there's the mycelium technology, and then there is the orb or organic refuse biocompound technology. In terms of mycelium technology, the star or headline product is insulation. And again, because mycelium is it really is magical organism to work with, the possibilities of what you can make with it is huge. But I guess because at BIOHM we strive to create the future of home. So we look into anything that makes up the built environment. So insulation being inside your walls, and then we look into the interior of the spaces as well. So the range of architectural elements from acoustic panels to furniture is more than possible and is beautiful as well that we're developing.
Can you make it stop growing? That's also where I just thought of that. I mean, how do you, I just imagine, like, of course it's a living organism, but how do you sort of control that? I don't know if that's a silly question. I was just thinking that if you created something, will it then continue to sort of spawn if it's, insulation or something, or it doesn't work that way?
No, unfortunately, that's not a good idea to leave it grow. At the moment, anyway, I think the building control officers wouldn't be happy with that, or insurers of the buildings. But
just imagine the buildings are taking a life of their own.
Yeah, exactly. However, that's an interesting thought in the future. But at the moment, no,
True.
We very ethically kill the organism once it's taken its shape. So it's muted completely. So it's inert. It cannot come back to life. So it really stops being a living organism and becomes a product and a material that we then can introduce safely into the built environment.
How do you ethically kill? I like that you clarified that it was ethical. Yeah, again, out of curiosity, how do you ethically kill or stop a mushroom from growing?
Yeah, there is a particular environment or conditions that the organism can live in. So it's basically, you can think of it as a curing. So the way you would cure plastic to harden it, or dehydrate timber for it to be more stable. So in the same way, we expose the organism to the environment that it can't survive.
It doesn't like. Yeah. Oh, I like that you use the word mute. I think that was a good phrase to use. Yeah, making it dormant. Maybe we can say that.
Yeah, exactly. Making it dormant, giving it a new life as a product.
True. And I think what's really fascinating about what you guys create is that you mentioned that once you're sort of done with these products, they can effectively be returned to the earth, right? And just used as basically they'll break down and nurture the soil.
Yeah, absolutely. All of our products, all of our technologies, again, in alignment with our philosophy of having only regenerative impact, they all are intentionally designed to be cold compostable. So they are all 100% natural and bio-based, which means the natural world and ecosystems can understand and can digest it if need be. But also they're designed to be a resource for us to then use again and again as well. So mycelium, for instance, is a bit of a Hannibal and it eats itself. So mycelium products can at the end be used as a substrate to feed the other mycelium to make new stuff. And the ORB, so the organic refuse by compound technology, the binder technology, again, can also be recycled or put back into the production processes to make new products and materials.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that you used a cannibal phrase there. But what's really, so much in the industry when we talk about sustainable, building materials, furnitures and everything, that often people talk about bioplastic, right? It's often sort of seen as at least one of the saviors or alternatives. We just had an interesting conversation at one point where we said, at least you were informing me, that bioplastics has sort of taken a bit of a hit maybe in terms of reputation. I'd just love to hear your perspective on that, maybe why bioplastics potentially aren't as sort of cracked up as, everyone talks them up to be.
Yeah, bioplastics are great. It's such an amazing innovation. And again, the ones that are, done right, as in they are 100% bio-based. And that's phenomenal. However, I guess the problem with bioplastics is the fact that it's often to make them, the natural resources are used. So, which means we're back to, the destructive extraction of natural resources. So I guess that's, to me, is the main problem, but it's very difficult to talk about this because obviously you can't build Rome in one day,
Yes.
So I think bioplastics are a great solution and they're far better than petroleum-based plastics. So, of course, and I think it's not really the problem with the material or the way it's made so much, but maybe the way it's applied, So to me, the huge problem with circular economy or, regenerative practices is the fact of how we as a society and industry decide to make our products and how we use them as well. So anything that is disposable, in my view, is a problem, So plastics are great materials as long as they're used for something that is designed to last for 400 years. And we can know for sure they will last for 400 years. But most things don't. So maybe, it's kind of, the problem I think is culture and the way we approach and develop and use products rather than materials actually themselves as well. So it's the problem is never single faceted. There are so many other ways to look at the problem and the solutions as well.
And I guess it's also problematic that we talked about at some point that if you are using virgin materials, sort of what's the point a little bit? It's like if we have something like food waste, why should we not use it instead of having to grow whole fields of corn or something to create a new material? Yeah,
exactly. So I guess to me, it's also maybe it needs a bit of time, the bioplastics in terms of development. So, at the moment we're using the virgin resources, but perhaps in a year's time or so, we won't. Maybe there will be a technology, and I'm sure there are already. In fact, I know there are, at least in the R&D stage, there are technologies that are using waste. We're using waste materials to create our binders. We're not calling them bioplastics for many reasons, but there are ways to to progress this further into the next stage that solves those problems that the bioplastics currently have, or the ones that are on the market.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to hear a bit more about the business model you guys have as a social enterprise. Again, I thought it was really interesting that you guys sort of tackle this the sustainability aspect is very broad, that it's not, as I said, it's not just about environment, but you guys make sure you focus on the social impact and the economic impact as well. Yeah, I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, again, to us, we borrow so many concepts from nature and they're right there for the taking, and it's the main one is the systemic thinking, and this systemic approach to the way we produce our materials. It means that we are able to consider other stakeholders. So obviously biomills and the materials themselves tackle the environmental sustainability. However, the way we set them up with local social enterprises is the way we would be tackling the social impact of those biomills. And for the last couple of years, we've had an opportunity to work with social enterprises to develop the very unconventional and kind of revolutionary business models that consider and reconsider value and how it's distributed and the way industry could or should be, So, and we have explored, the profit share of things like biomills. So when you work directly with the local community, you contribute to the skill level increase, to the future proofing of the industry, as well as you distribute the monetary value of it. So all the profits of our biomills are going to be shared with the local communities. So really using this technology again as a catalyst for regeneration, environmental, economical, and social. For us, it's always a systemic thing that we're trying to tackle. And why not? These things are there as vehicles to tackle all of these things. And it's more than possible. And I think we've proven that. So very exciting.
Definitely.
Very exciting times ahead to grow that and to copy paste these biomills and these models all around the world.
Could we maybe touch on, I thought it was, again, interesting, and you can just tell me if we can talk about this, where you guys really considered the placement of the biomills, where can we sort of make the biggest impact? What community can we sort of place ourselves in? One, to obviously, as you mentioned, to give people the skills, but then knowing where, that putting a biomill here is really going to have some great economic sort of prospects for the people in the area. I'm not sure if you can elaborate on that, but it would be great. Yep.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In terms of setting up biomills and deciding where they're going to go and what they're going to do, it's exactly that. It's looking at the most deprived communities, the struggling communities, the ones that potentially have been overlooked by other industries, or the industry has left those areas and left people struggling economically. It's exactly that. Where can we have that impact the most and contribute the most with the setup of biomills, and also making it hyper-local as well. So we don't believe in setting up one big facility per country. Instead, it's a lot of smaller facilities, again, for that impact to be distributed equitably and evenly across the geographical area. And also, that kind of also touches on the mileage of product traveling from factory to site, for instance. So again, hyper-local concept of value distribution, but also product to project distribution as well. And looking into other innovative concepts of even distribution, using maybe the same community or local businesses' vehicles to distribute the product, but that's maybe a bit in the future.
Yeah.
Uber for industry.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we've seen several interesting sort of projects crop up over the years where you sort of piggyback on those existing logistical chains to sort of limit the impact.
And using local wastes as well. So it's really, really again, tackling those different problems and using the local expertise and knowledge of the area as well. So, and that's another way of doing that social impact, is not just sharing the profits, but involving the local community into how those biomills are set up and are to evolve as well. So, and inviting local industry with the feedstock, for instance. So really creating the linkage and symbiosis between community, industry, biomill, and the local environment.
You guys do, I mean, a lot of bespoke work, I would imagine. A bunch of clients always coming up to you. And I think it's fascinating that you guys certainly co-collaborate with, as you mentioned, sort of the stuff that's around you. What kinds of projects have you got on the horizon? There's an exciting project in Brighton, if you can share a bit more about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the technologies that we have, that at the core of our materials, allow us to work with different companies and create those circular stories. So, I mean, most companies out there have some sort of waste, and waste plus our technology, whether it's mycelium or the orbital binder technology, would lead to the creation and development of the material, which then would lead to a particular application or product, which can then be put back into that company's offices or whatever the projects that they're doing. And the project in Brighton that you just mentioned is a good example of that. It's a great example. It's very exciting. So we're working with Baker Brown Architects and Glyndebourne Opera Pavilion in Lewis. And we're building together a new pavilion. It's going to be a dining area. And we are supplying a few things. So mycelium insulation is one of them. And the other one is going to be the back wall in the dining area. And it's very exciting because the brief of the project is basically using everything we can find on site and develop materials out of it and put it back to make up that pavilion. So it's an excellent brief, and we've spent some time looking into what is there for us to find. We found some stuff. Opera, the festival is very famous for the champagne and the oysters. It's an amazing experience at the Glyndebourne Pavilion. So we are working with cork bottle tops from champagne and wine. And we're not working with oysters, but we are working also with
That's
some...
a shame. It's quite a beautiful material. I have no idea what it's like to work with. I imagine it's probably not that easy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just that. I think it wasn't really appropriate for the application because it's more of an aggregate material. So we, there's also a lot of thinking goes into designing the makeup of the material using these different waste streams, because some might not be compatible together or some are more compatible than others. So we've developed a whole collection of materials with different matrices of the different waste streams. And it's all going absolutely great. So I'm not sure if you want to hear more, but the opening is next year. So it's all very exciting. We're soon going to be going into production, probably in autumn, of the actual panels.
Okay.
And yeah, it's exciting. And there is more design work going into that project as well. And again, all of our design practice at BIOHM is based on biomimetic design, which is all nature-inspired design. So we're looking into the flows and the nature of sound, just because it's so fitting with the project. It's the opera pavilion, and we have a concept of surface design for that back wall that we're making, that we're paneling with our materials. And it's going to be the cymatic image of the first note ever played at the pavilion, which we're transforming into a 3D surface. It's very exciting, to be honest. Can't wait to show you.
Yeah, I mean, I hope when this pandemic's over that we can actually come over. We've often talked at Index about having these inspiration trips, and so it would just be fantastic if we could jump over there. Fingers crossed we can.
Absolutely.
I think, I mean, it's just very poetic that, of course, you guys have this tech that you know and you're familiar with, but then you actually go to a location and then sort of co-create with what you guys find there. I mean, as a designer, in terms of sustainability, what excites you the most? Is it this sort of stuff that you're working with? Or, yeah, I just love to hear your sort of personal reflections on that.
Yeah, I mean, as a designer, again, the fact that I've been so challenged over the last few years, and the challenge is excitement. The challenge to me, and I mean by challenge, I mean working, for instance, with living organisms.
Mm-hmm.
It's exciting. It's exciting because it gives you an opportunity to innovate, to reimagine the way things are made, the way they look, the way they build, the way we use them through all this new ways of working and developing material. So that's extremely exciting. And the fact that there is an amazing, I have seen, and the way we work at BIOHM, there is such a merge of disciplines. So my team actually is everybody from the scientists to biologists to engineers to designers. So, and that's how a design project would go. So it's not just a team of designers. It's so multidisciplinary, which is so exciting and challenging and great, and so fruitful in the end. So, I mean, I can't really imagine, anything better than what it is now. And I think it's this possibility and opportunity to do something important and impactful is what's exciting. And again, to me, it's a beautiful poetry in there, this cross-linking of disciplines. It's exactly what happens in nature. Again, we exchange nutrients. So, and so organisms do in nature as well. If there is fungus to plant, to bird and bee to tree, it's all connected. And that's exactly what I'm seeing in my team at BIOHM, for instance, and in the industry, how we're linking to other businesses and to other companies, and how there is so much fusion and connection, and it feels right. It's driven by right reasons and a mission, and the energy levels are very high. So that's what's exciting to me as a designer.
No, we can certainly tell. I think your passion is very, very clear. And again, it's also interesting is the way you talk about it. It is like building up a full ecosystem. But
exactly.
Yeah, what is the sort of long-term vision for BIOHM? You've got some pretty wicked problems you guys need to address. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we are tackling some of the most difficult or catastrophic crises, we feel. So that's what's in front of us, and that's where our eye is focused on with anything that we do. So, but yeah, we're trying to reverse the climate crisis. We're trying to reimagine.
Not an easy task.
Not an easy task, no. Yeah. But
hence why you need an ecosystem around it. Yeah.
Yeah, but we like a challenge. Challenge is exciting, and we've got the tools to tackle it. So we feel we do. So it's very exciting, and obviously try and reimagine and revolutionize construction industry. It is one of the most wasteful industries. So again, it's very exciting to be working within this space, and there is a lot of understanding and awareness within the industry now as well. So it's a great time for us to be working within this area, and change the world, and make sure that the future of home is bright and regenerative.
Yeah. Last question I will just ask, I mean, are you optimistic? We like to ask our guests how we just like to say, when you're faced with these, catastrophic problems, are you optimistic that we can resolve them? Perhaps resolve is the wrong word. We can, reverse some of the damage. What are your thoughts on that?
Wow, what a question, Lesley.
But that's the thing. We've had very varied responses, actually. Some people are like, yes. Some people say no. Some people say yes with a but, or they say they're realists. But I mean, personally, are you an optimist, I guess?
Yes, absolutely. I'm 100% an optimist. I wouldn't be doing this job if I wasn't, So I think there's definitely a way to do it. And I mean, the way was there the whole time. it's just us realizing what is it that we need to do, and what's important. Yes, I think we can definitely solve all the wicked problems. However, whether we actually do it and do it on time, that's, I guess, another question, So it's not a problem of not being able to, it's whether actually, and the time frame as well. It's not an easy thing. And the key to this is making sure that you're coming from a positive place, an exciting place, because if you focus on the problem rather than the solution, that might lead to something that is potentially not going to lead to the solution in the end, whereas if you focus on the tools and the techniques and the possibility and the innovation, and that creates a very positive, exciting place. And I think psychologically and physically as well, as us as a society and the industry, this what could be the push, coming from that place. And I think this is where we are here at BIOHM, and this is a benefit because we just refuse to think that it's not possible. We know it's possible and we're excited about it. And that's what the drive is. So we're not thinking about this catastrophic crises. Actually, no, we are thinking of the beautiful world after we've sorted it, So it's the focus on the positive thing was the key, because it's totally possible. Think of a forest, think of the buildings as machines for living, the space, so the how do we do that? So just focus on that rather than the climate crisis. And, so if you try to aim, to the stars and land on the moon, then we're there, right? We solved it.
No, we completely agree. I think, of course, at Index, we share the same philosophy, basically, that let's focus on the solutions. Because, there's enough problems. And, of course, as you said, if you don't have the correct mindset, then it's probably not the industry for you.
No.
But thank you so much for your time. It's been really insightful, as always. But, we're so excited to basically see BIOHM bloom. I think I've said that a couple of times now, but maybe it's very appropriate for the kind of work you guys do.
Lesley.
Yeah, pardon the pun. Yeah, but thank you so much, Oksana. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. We are gonna bloom.
Yes, I'm sure you guys are. Thank you for listening to Can Design Save Us by the Index Project. I'm your host, Lesley Price, and this episode was produced by Sidsel Nørgaard with music by Kristina Lilleskov. Join us for the next episode where we meet Index Award 2021 winner in the Play and Learning category, True Pick.